It is that time of year. We are talking about getting out the vote. The primary will be here before you know it, coming up in May. And I have Jessica Williams with One Nashville and Reverend Fuzz joining me today. He's putting his efforts behind this cause as well. Let's talk about, we've talked about the issues that keep people from voting. How can we get more people out there? What are some good strategies? What do you think, Reverend Fuzz?
You know, it was really exciting and pleasing. A couple of elections ago, there was a grandmother. And at the end of the day, she was so excited that she'd gotten 10 people to go and vote. All of her kids, their kids. So I discovered that people will listen. Grandparents out there, listen to me. People will listen to grandparents. You can make your kids go and vote, because that's the group that it seems that we hear is failing. Or the younger people under 35, they listen to grandparents.
Yeah.
And grandparents teach them how to vote and who to vote for. You have a lot of power. Just think, it's not just your one vote, but all of a sudden you got 5.
Right,
that you can vote. And then I got a letter from a friend today, and I said, this is a great concept. He sent a letter, and what he had done was to research all the candidates, and he recommended these 3 candidates. And that comes from your friend. That's really helpful, because one of the things that people have is they don't know who to vote for.
Right, especially in the primary when there are lots of options. It can get overwhelming.
Right. You don't know those people. You don't know. And everybody says the same campaign slogan almost.
Right.
Integrity or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you don't know who they are. So to have a friend, that friend who researched the candidates and sent me a letter saying, I've researched these 3 people and against the other folk, and I would appreciate if you would support them. And what he's done is develop a list of people over the years that he would send that to. So all of a sudden, it's not just his one vote, but he's getting a lot of other people to be influenced by. So I'd say grandparents and parents, encourage, better yet, order, demand that your kids and your grandchildren participate in this process, because I hear that there are countries in the world that you don't get to do this.
That's right.
And I tell you what, I tell my church members, they complain about politicians coming to our church at election time.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
And I say to them, okay, they come to us at election time. I go to them when it's not an election. And there's hardly a judge that I'm not in his courtroom or her courtroom at some time on behalf of one of my members. I've seen the judge to say, young man, your pastor took time to come here to this courtroom. I'm going to give you a chance. So they come to us at election time. We have to go to them when it's not election time and use them in their job capacity.
Yes. Jessica, what do you think about different strategies to get people to just do it? Just get out there and vote, and hopefully get educated first. It's more than filling in a bubble or punching a button. It should be.
I think my thought process is just to make it the coolest thing in the world to do. You know, I just feel like if we get excited to,
have a party at the polls.
Yeah, I feel like we have to really get excited about what this means. And I can say from just gathering my group around, which has been at least 20 people and that are in my close proximity, to get them excited about the race, they are calling and saying, okay, who should I vote for? What does this look like? They're asking questions. And so I really think sparking that excitement and that ability to empower people of being able to be able to do it. And just if you tell your 10 people and you tell your 10 people and you know, let it spread through, then I think we could get a better turnout at the polls.
Yeah, and I do think, because we've spoken about education and just talking among ourselves, all the campaign signs are up, and we drive by them, and my 9-year-old will say, "Mom, are we voting for so-and-so?" First of all, are we voting? And I'll say, "Well, I don't know anything. I have to research them because it's just a name on a sign." And he will do it over and over again. So I know that we need to sit down and look at these names and say, okay, in 9-year-old terms, this is what this person stands for. But it starts that he's making the connections between the signs. We go to the polls. This person's in power. So it starts early, earlier than I ever thought.
And it ought to be a family affair. Encourage your family to be a family that votes. Let that be a part of the legacy of your family. That, a generation from now, that'll mean something.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we take it for granted, the freedoms that we have in America. And I tell you, when you get to know the judges and your elected officials, you'll find out that they're people just like you are. They have families, and you can encourage and help them to do their job. A lot of times people say the politicians are crooked. That's not true, okay? I've worked with lots of elected officials. They are good people, they're hardworking people, and they are not crooked. That's something we need to eliminate from politics, that politics is crooked, that the politicians don't do anything. I have seen them work hard, and I've seen politicians who cry, who care, and who go above and beyond. We see a few of them who fall through the cracks. I see a lot of y'all who do that too.
That's true. Let's go to the phone lines. We have Josh on the line. Good evening, Josh. Thanks for calling in, being part of this conversation.
Yes, ma'am. As far as voting, everybody needs to vote if they can. But I would like to ask the young gentleman there if he thinks that what Maxine Waters said back, it's been about 2 years ago, if he condones it or disapproves of it. And that's going to be my question. I appreciate y'all having me.
Are you familiar with what she said, what he may be referring to?
Maxine Waters say a lot of things.
About calling out anybody that voted for Trump.
Okay, yeah. You know what? That's the thing I said about being in America. There are countries where you don't have the privilege to disagree with anything. You don't have the privilege to disagree with President Trump. And that's a great thing about America. One of the things about Nashville, I hear people talk about Bordeaux, Black Nashville, White Nashville, East Nashville, Bellevue, Belmead, Green Hills, Madison. And it just hit me one morning. I said, why can't we just be one Nashville?
Right.
Instead of being all these divided people. In America, let us allow people to have their different opinions. And Nashville became that place where it would be safe for you to be you, to say who and what you think. And I tell you something, when you meet people face to face and flesh to flesh, rather than hearing about them on Channel 5, man, every time you will change your opinion about folk. I had people who say, I want to come to your community, but I'm afraid. And I said, well, come to Nashville next Saturday. And I'm the only person you got to be afraid of, okay? But I'm shooting blanks. That guy has come to every meeting, and he talks about and brags about all the friends he's made. He says, I never had black friends, and this is the best thing that I've done. So I say to people, don't judge folk what you see on television, hear on radio, read in the paper. Meet people, talk to them, spend some time with them. Maxine Waters, you'll find out there's got to be some things you agree with her on, okay? And it's okay to disagree with me and feel like I'm not going to bully you for not agreeing with me.
We have lost We have just lost our way in so many ways, I think, when it comes to civility and being able to have that conversation and have those disagreements respectfully.
Yeah.
And that's one reason we're so divided, and it shows on our Capitol Hill in Washington,
Yes, it
D.C.
does.
It's everybody's in their camp, and those camps are just getting farther and farther apart, it seems. But you and One Nashville trying to change that.
Yes.
What are the events that you're doing besides you had this one big event? What is the vision here? What are you doing leading up to these elections?
So that was our first event. So we're wanting to brainstorm. We would love to be able to. One of a lady that was working with us is trying to get the party buses to get people on the party buses down into the polls. And this is early election week. It starts April the 13th, and then election day is May the 3rd. So just trying to, again, make it exciting to get people to those polls.
And the race relations thing that we talked about with the lady yesterday, that we're going to bring people together to see if we improve and give people an opportunity, older people, to have better race relations. I think it's sad that American society is still so segregated.
It is.
54 years after the death of Dr. King, that we're still that segregated. And there ought to be opportunities for older people to come together and just share. I'll tell you, when you meet people flush to flush,
It makes all the difference, doesn't it?
yes.
Being from, I'm from San Diego, and I went to Fisk University, and it was a culture shock for me. And I felt that, so race relations was a big experience for me here. And I felt like I was confined to one area of Nashville, which was Fisk University. It was like, this is your...
That was the culture shock.
This
is your spot.
And for someone who's, vibrant...
So you're a little extroverted.
I was going to stay right here, and you felt that pressure. And even graduating, getting a real estate license, the first place they told me to sell real estate is right in your, because this is the only place you're going.
Yeah.
And it was challenging to me. I would call my mom and I said, Mom, people in Nashville say black people, white people, like that's what they referred to as people. Whereas in San Diego, it was just their people. We grew up in a very diverse setting. And it depressed me. I was hurt about it. I experienced it all the time. As a realtor, I've had African-American sellers tell me to take my face off the sign because they're in an all-white neighborhood. I mean, I get these things all the time. Or they'll list your project with someone who's not black after you worked hard to get it done. So you see that, and it just is disheartening to me because I feel like we are all one Nashville. We all work, we're paying our taxes, we're doing what we need to do. How do we make a city that's vibrant, loving, caring, considerate, has compassion for every single person? Like, I always feel that no one person holds any more weight than another. Not the homeless person that may be struggling on the corner, or not the multi-billionaires we get to work with building all the buildings.
Yeah. Well, thank you for not turning your back and becoming bitter, but saying, I'm going to make this place better.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, we have to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come right back. Love to hear from more of you tonight about getting out the vote. What's important to you? Why are you headed to the polls this season? Let us know. We'd love to hear it. We're coming right back.